Hello, welcome back to Statistics and Mathematics YouTube channel. Today we are going to study something on data classifications. Under data classification, we have two types of data. We have qualitative variables and quantitative variables. At the end of this lesson, the aim is for us to really understand the qualitative variables and quantitative variables. So one may ask, what is qualitative variable? Qualitative variables consist of attributes, labels, or non-numerical entries. That is qualitative variables. So they usually have a nature of an attribute. You giving attribute to something, labeling something, or non-numerical entries. So examples of qualitative data are place of birth. So the place of birth is a qualitative data because it has an attribute of what? A label, right? That is a certain attribute given to a place, right? So maybe one can be born at Asankragwa, one can be born at Kumasi. Second, ear color. The ear color, ears too has its own what? Color, right? And then we have eye color too, right? They have different forms of what? Colors. You have political affiliation. One can support a specific political party like MPP, NDC, and many more. You have religious preferences, right? So the religious preference, one can choose to join a Pentecostal church, one can choose to join Church of Christ, one can choose to join Adventist church, and many more. These are all qualitative variables. And then we have gender. The gender will have the gender that we have here will be in the form of what? Male and female. They are all forms of qualitative variables. We have geographic location, colleges in Kenya University. Kenya University have about 6 colleges: College of Science, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, College of Engineering, College of Allied Health Science, and many more. We have different forms of what colleges that we have in Kenya University, and these are all forms of what qualitative variables. We have departments in College of Science. In College of Science, we have about 12-15 departments there. These are all forms of what qualitative variables, and we have what marital status. So these are examples of what qualitative variables. The second on my list here is quantitative variables. So quantitative variables consist of numerical measures and counts. So for quantitative variable, they have a nature of numerical measure, right? It means that these variables you can measure them, and in some cases too you can count these variables. So examples of quantitative variables are number of cars in a parking lot, number of siblings someone has. So the number of siblings, you can just count your brothers and sisters to get it's a form of qualitative variable. The number of cars in a parking lot, right? That place you can count the number of cars there, right? These are all forms of what quantitative variables. Goal scores in a football match, you can count them. It has that nature. You have number of books on a shelf, you can count them. And the height of a student, we can't count height of a student, but we can measure height of what? Student, right? Height of student. And then we have weight of persons, we can measure them. Temperature, we measure them. Time taken to run 100 meters, we count them. And distance traveled. These are all examples of quantitative variables. With these examples, you see that some are measured and some are counted. That leads us to types of quantitative variables. So for quantitative variables too, we have two types. The first one on my list is discrete variables. Discrete variables. So discrete variables assume values that can be counted. So they are quantitative variables that assume values that can be counted. Example, we have number of cars in a parking lot. So you see, this is a quantitative variables, and out of these quantitative variables, there are some variables that we can group them, and there are some variables that we can count them. So that variable that we can count them are classified as a discrete variable, and the variable that we can measure them are classified as what? Continuous variable. So when you come here, number of cars in a parking lot, number of siblings someone has, goals scored in a football match, number of books on a shelf, right? These are all called what? Discrete variables. And then we have what we call continuous variables. Continuous variables can assume an infinite number of values between any specific values. So these variables are usually what measured, right? So one for variables that we can measure, they lie between a certain what intervals, right? So for continuous variables, we usually what measure them. They are obtained by measuring. They often include fractions and what decimals, right? So for example, height of students, we measure them. Weight of a person, we measure them. Temperature, time taken to run 100 meters, and distance travels. So these are what we meant the type of variables that we have under discrete random variables. Let's go through some practice tests. So these are practice tests that we have here. It said classify each variables as a discrete or continuous variables. A said the number of hours during a week that children aged 12 to 15 reported that they watch television. So this one is that the number of hours. So these children are using some hours to watch the television. And for hours, we cannot count hours like 1, 2, 3. Hours are usually what measured, right? And we know that it's measured in 60 minutes. So 1 hour is equivalent to what? 60 minutes. So this is an example of continuous variable since the variable time is measured, right? And then the B said the number of touchdowns quarterback score each year in his college football career, right? So this is discrete since the number of what touchdown is counted, right? It's a discrete distance since we are counting that. And then for the C said then the amount of money a person earns per week working as a fast food restaurant. So the amount of money someone will earn. This money we cannot measure it. Usually count money. So money is what discrete variable since the smallest value that money can assume is in cents. D said the weight of the football player on a team that play in the NFL this year, right? So this one we are talking about weights here. So for weights we measure them. So this is also what continuous variable since the variable's weight is being what measured. So this is Statistics and Mathematics YouTube channel. So we have been able to treat quantitative variables and qualitative variables. In our next video, we are going to tackle what we call level of measurement. We have about 4 levels of measurement. So stay tuned on this channel so that when I upload this video, you will see. Thank you. Bye.